بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا اللهم زدنا علما إنك أنت عليم حكيم اللهم اجعل هذه المحاضرة حجة لنا لا حجة علينا يا رب العالمين أما بعد. Today's class, inshallah ta'ala, we're supposed to be starting with a book, Minhaj al-Haqq, Shaykh Abdurrahman al-Sa'di, rahimahullah ta'ala. In this book, it discusses aqeedah, adab, the proper belief in al-Islam, the proper moral conduct and character that a Muslim is supposed to uphold. However, due to issues that arise in our community, I felt that it was important to change the first class and discuss a very pertinent topic, a topic that has caused many or much division in our city and outside of our city. And this topic is called al-bid'ah and proper understanding of al-bid'ah. In our society here, we find many people going around talking about people of innovation, so on and so forth. However, after looking into the issue, we find that many people have no clue of what bid'ah is. In fact, perhaps even some of the people that are educating have no clue of what bid'ah really is. So therefore, we decided to discuss bid'ah in an academic sense so that people will understand from the understanding of the pious predecessors and how they understood bid'ah and what bid'ah is, and therefore make it easy for a person, if you don't know bid'ah, to at least keep your mouth shut. And Nabi alayhi salatu wassalam, he said, فَلْيَقُولُوا خَيْرًا أَوْ لِيَصْمُتْ. Say that which is good or remain silent. So, to start this, we're going to bring a statement from قال Muhammad al-Khadimi al-Hanafi. He explains al-bid'ah. He says, جمع بدعة خلاف السنة اعتقادا وعملا وقولا. So he starts off by saying, and he's from the Immat Ahnaf, from the scholars of the school of Imam Abi Hanifa, he says, bid'ah khilaf al-sunnah. It's an opposition of the sunnah. اعتقادا وعملا. How we believe and how we act in our actions and in our statements. وهذا معنى ما قالوه. And this is the meaning of what they say. البدعة في الشريعة إحداث ما لم يكن في عهد الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم. And so we find that al-bid'ah in the sharia is an innovation. إحداث, things that are newly invented. Things that were not present previously, but now they're present now. ما لم يكن في عهد الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم. And these things were not present during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then we have an additional meaning, al-ma'na shar'i lil bid'ah, a legislative meaning for the term bid'ah, wa huwa. And pay attention to this because this is very important. Anytime the ulama mention the definition of something, then it's always returned back to that thing when we see it, so it can be easily identifiable. Remember, our religion, it has rules and regulations, very specific, very specific. There's nothing hidden, there's no secrets. There's no such thing as only a few people understand and the rest of society is in a loss. Rather, everything that our deen teaches is present. We don't have no secret knowledge. This is not like a secret society where only a few people can understand and the rest are oblivious. Rather, information is present, information is mawjood. So it says, وَالْمَعْنَى الشَّرْعِ لِلْبِدْعَةِ. The legislative meaning of the term bid'ah, هُوَ الزِّيَادَةُ فِي الدِّينِ أَوْ نَقْصَانٌ مِنْهُ. Bid'ah is understood to mean الزِّيَادَةُ فِي الدِّينِ, to add something or to increase something in the religion that wasn't from it previously, or نَقْصَانُ مِنْ, or to take something away from the religion that was in the religion. الحادثان بعد الصحابة بغير إذن من الشرع. And both of these things happened after the time of the Sahaba without any permission from the Sharia. In other words, it was not legislated in the Sharia. And we find many of the ulama of al-Islam يوافقون على هذا المعنى. We find many of the ulama in al-Islam, they all, or most of, if not majority of them, are in agreement with this definition. قال Imam al-Shatibi. Imam al-Shatibi, rahimahullah ta'ala, he has a book called Al-I'tisam. This whole book talks about bid'ah in great detail. However, in this talk or lecture, we're not going to get into a lot of detail, but we will get into some detail, but not to the extent of Imam al-Shatibi. At any event, Imam al-Shatibi, rahimahullah ta'ala, and pay attention to this, because a lot of his statements with regards to bid'ah is used. He says, عرف al-bid'ah. He gives the definition of al-bid'ah. He says, طريقة في الدين مخترعة. It's a pathway that a person uses in a religion that is new. تضاهي الشريعة. And it resembles the Sharia. The actions itself, it resembles. تشبه الطريقة الشرعية. It resembles away from the Sharia. لكنها في الحقيقة مضادها. However, in reality, it is in opposition to it. وقد مثل الشاطبي للبدعة بقوله ومنها. So Imam al-Shatibi, rahimahullah ta'ala, he's going to give us some examples, some things that are very tangible so people can see and understand. He says, التزام الكيفيات والهيئات المعينة. So the first type of bid'ah, or an identifiable trait that a person can identify, he says, التزام الكيفيات والهيئات. It's done in a specific way, is carried out in a specific way. So he says, for example, كالذكر بهيئة الاجتماع على صوت واحد. For example, if everyone were to gather together and to make dua with one voice. And I'll give you an example. I was in the masjid one time, and in this masjid, after Salatul Isha, the brother passed out some paper, and everyone in the masjid was reciting Surah Al-Mulk with one voice, in unison. I've never seen this before, and this will constitute a bid'ah in the religion. And then he gives another example. And he says, اتخاذ يوم الولادة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عيدا وما أشبه ذلك. And he says another one could be when a person will take the birthday of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and turn it into an Eid, or day of celebration. And this will be considered adding something to the religion that was not from it. وَمِنْهَا, and then he gives another example. التزام العبادات المعينة. To stick or to introduce a certain specific form of worship. A specific form of worship that has been introduced في أوقات معينة, during a specific time. لم يوجد لها ذلك التعيين في الشريعة. However, the Sharia does not specify that particular act of worship at any time. So then he mentions an example of this would be Siyam Yawm al-Nisf min Sha'ban, fasting during the middle of the month of Sha'ban, wa qiyam laylatihi, and standing in that night in particular. So in other words, a person specifies the middle of Sha'ban, the middle of the month of Sha'ban, and specifies that time for a particular act of worship. Just that time. Not other time, that time in particular. This would also be considered a bid'ah. Notice how Imam al-Shatibi, he mentioned these things and he gave examples. Something that is real tangible that a person can identify. Not a ghost, not a boogeyman, not something that's made up. Oh, these people are people innovation. What's the innovation? No one knows. These are people innovation. No one knows. What's the innovation? And so you have people running around aimlessly. They don't know what to do. So what happens is people, they're stuck. They don't understand. So therefore we find that Imam al-Shatibi, he gives some very specific examples. Now, we're going to talk about bid'ah in a little bit more detail. هناك أقسام كثيرة للبدعة. With regards to bid'ah, there are many different types. I spoke to a brother last week, he told me that a particular brother is upon bid'ah. I said, طيب ما نوعية البدعة ما هي يعني what type of bid'ah? Is it مفسقة or مكفرة? And then I heard crickets. The brother wasn't able to answer. Is it مفسقة or مكفرة? مفسقة or مكفرة يعني there are two types of bid'ah. There's a bid'ah that takes a person outside of the folds of Islam, and there's a bid'ah that the person remains Muslim, but they're still within the folds of Islam, meaning they still have rights as a Muslim. They're still Muslim. Whereas the other one, they are not Muslim. So I asked the brother, what type of bid'ah is it? Explain to us what type of bid'ah you're talking about. He didn't know. In that regard, if you don't know, you are not qualified to open your mouth. You're not qualified to open your mouth. If you cannot identify, but if anyone says these people are upon bid'ah, you should know what type it is. Mufassika, mukaffara. Does it take them outside of Islam, or are they still Muslim? هذا أولا. إذن al-mukaffara, with regards to bid'ah that is mukaffara, we need some examples so people can understand. لا يجوز أن يصلي خلفه. If a person has a type of bid'ah that is mukaffara, that takes them outside of Islam, it is not permissible to pray behind those people, and it's not permissible to pray in their masajid. Mithal, what are some examples of this? Al-qawl bi khalq al-Qur'an. If a person says that the Qur'an is created, this is a bid'ah that will take a person outside of the folds of Islam according to many of the Salaf. Al-qawl bid-dukhul al-naqs aw ziyada ala al-Qur'an. If a person says that the Qur'an is not sufficient, that we need to add something to the Qur'an, this is also the type of bid'ah that is mukaffara. And likewise, uluhiyata ahadun ghayr Allah, that worship is done to other than Allah, that is not permissible to pray behind these types of people. With regards to al-mufassaqa, which is a bid'ah that is sinful, but does not take a person outside of Islam, yujuzu and yusalli khalfahu. It is permissible to pray behind these people. However, it is better to pray behind a person that is known not to have bid'ah with them. And an example of this would be picking out and specifying nisfu Sha'ban bis-siyam, fasting the middle of the month of Sha'ban specifically. And then there is bid'ah that some of the ulama, they differ. Is it mufassaqa or mukaffara? They differ with regards to this. Like, for example, some of them say the Khawarij are ahlul bid'ah mukaffara, take them outside of Islam. And some of them say la, rather they're still within Islam. And there's some khilaf among the Salaf with regards to some of these groups. Al-an, we're going to read from a book from one of the mashayikh, Sheikh Ahmed al-Najjar, hafidhahullah ta'ala. He has a book, and in his book, small brief kutayyib, he talks about some of the principles of removing someone from the circle of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Removing an individual from the circle of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah. He mentioned some very specific, detailed principles that are tangible and one in which everyone should be cautious of. This topic is of great importance because it affects a large segment of the city and outside of the city. People discuss these issues and they have no idea what they're talking about. And so we find some of the statements of the Salaf with regards to this. It says, إِخْرَاجُ النَّاسِ مِنَ السُنَّةِ شَدِيد. Removing a person from the Sunnah is a hard thing to do. It's very difficult. And this is the statement that you can find in a book called As-Sunnah lil-Khallab. As-Sunnah lil-Khallab. And the reason why I'm mentioning the name of these books, because I'm sure there may be people watching the class online or looking or here in the masjid, and they have doubts about where does brother get this information from. And as some of the ulama would always tell us, لَيْسَ الْخَبْرُ كَالْمُعَايَنَةِ لَيْسَ الْخَبْرُ كَالْمُعَايَنَةِ. Meaning, me telling you is not like you seeing it for yourself. Therefore, I will give you the names of the books so you can look at it yourself. and make sure I didn't add anything to it or take anything away from it. قال Imam al-Darimi rahimahullah ta'ala. Imam al-Darimi is from the Imams of the past. He says in his book, Ar-Raddu al-Jahmiyyah. He mentions in his book, Ar-Raddu al-Jahmiyyah. And this is a very, very important statement that he said. And this is a synopsis of the whole lecture. He says, وَالْبِدْعَةُ أَمْرُهَا شَدِيدٌ وَالْمَنْسُوبُ إِلَيْهَا سَيْءُ الْحَالِ بَيْنَ أَظْهَرِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. He says, a bid'ah, innovation in a religion, is a serious affair. And the one who is associated with that person, bid'ah or innovation, whoever has bid'ah or innovation attributed to them, and this person is in an evil state or an evil affair. فَلَا تَعْجَلُوا بِالْبِدْعَةِ حَتَّى تَسْتَيْقَنُوا وَتَعْلَمُوا أَحَقًّا قَالَ أَحَدُ الْفَرِيقَيْنِ أَمْ بَاطِلًا. And he says, and due to the severity of labeling a person or a thing bid'ah, he says, do not be hasty with bid'ah until you are certain and that you know for sure whoever is saying that is telling the truth or they're not telling the truth. This is a statement from one of the Imams of the past. He says, فَكَيْفَ تَسْتَعْجِلُونَ أَن تَنْسِبُونَ إِلَى بِدْعَةِ أَقْوَامًا فِي قَالُوهُ. He says, how can you be quick to attribute bid'ah to a whole group of people by something they say? وَلَا تَدْرُونَ أَنَّهُمْ أَصَابُوا الْحَقَّ فِي قَوْلِهِمْ ذَلِكَ أَمْ أَخْطَأُوهُ. How can you be so certain to attribute bid'ah to a group of people and you don't know what they said or done, whether it is correct or it is incorrect? Rather, you don't have the tools, you're not equipped to make that assessment. Yet we have a whole town of people, lay people in particular, running around and labeling people innovators and this, that, and the next, and they have no clue of what bid'ah is and how to attribute it to anyone. وَلَا تَدْرُونَ أَنَّهُمْ أَصَابُوا الْحَقَّ فِي قَوْلِهِمْ ذَلِكَ أَمْ أَخْطَأُوا وَلَا يُمَكِّنَكُمْ فِي مَذْهَبِكُمْ أَن تَقُولُوا لِوَاحِدٍ مِنَ الْفَرِيقَيْنِ لَمْ تُصِبْ الْحَقَّ بِقَوْلِكَ وَلَيْسَ كَمَا قُلْتَ. And he also mentioned, and you don't know enough. You don't even know if you're on your own condition well enough to judge another person to say that what they have with them is correct or it is falsehood. And then he says, فَمَنْ أَسْفَهُ فِي مَذْهَبِهِ وَأَجْهَلُ مِمَّا يَنْسِبُ إِلَى بِدْعَةِ أَقْوَامًا يَقُولُ لَا نَدْرِي أَهُوَ كَمَا قَالُوا أَمْ لَيْسَ كَذَلِكَ. And he said, who was more foolish or more ignorant than a person who attributes bid'ah to a whole group of people? And then when you ask them, and they say, لَا نَدْرِي أَهُوَ كَمَا قَالُوا, we don't know whether for sure this is what it is or it isn't. وَلَا يَأْمَنُ فِي مَذْهَبِهِمْ أَنْ يَكُونُوا أَحَدَ الْفَرِيقَيْنِ أَصَابُوا الْحَقَّ وَالسُّنَّةَ فَسَمَّاهُ مُبْتَدِعًا. And they don't know whether a group of people, what they've done, whether what they've done is the sunnah or not, but they attribute a person to bid'ah. وَلَا يَأْمَنُ فِي دَعْوَاهُمْ أَنْ يَكُونُوا حَقُّ بَاطِلًا وَالسُّنَّةُ بِدْعَةً. And they're not even sure whether what they're saying is, if the truth, what they claim is actually falsehood, or they might contribute or attribute something that is sunnah to be bid'ah. وَهَذَا ضَلَالٌ بَيِّنٌ وَجَهْلٌ غَيْرُ الصَّغِيرِ. And he said this is a tremendous ignorance and misguidance. Well, this is a type of ignorance that is great. This is a severe ignorance that people have with regards to that affair. This is just the introduction to understanding the seriousness of people. We're not even talking about, this is talking about ulama. So ma ba'ala ma dunahum. What about those who are less than ulama, like students of knowledge? What about those who are less than them? And people run around and they say this person's upon innovation, that person's upon innovation, and they don't even know what innovation is. They can't even identify it. You can't even tell the person this is a bid'ah, that's a bid'ah. So now we're going to get into some real tangible principles that you can use and you can take home with you. You can take them to your house, you can cook them up, And when you hear somebody say something, just apply these tools. These are weapons, okay? The Shaykh Ahmed Najjar, Hafidhullah Ta'ala, he says, هذه الأصول التي تميز بها أئمة السلف من غيرهم من أهل أهواء تعود إلى أمرين وهما. So here we're about to discuss some fundamental principles that will aid a person, that the scholars of the past, that they use to understand who are the people of desires and who are the people of bid'ah. The way that we can identify that, first and foremost, we have to make sure we are not from those people. First and foremost, we have to make sure we are not from those people. And secondly, if you want to just have that knowledge for yourself, then there are principles that a person can use to identify them. I hope y'all got pens and papers. Write some of this stuff down. It's important. Al-Amr al-Awwal. The first thing that is very important. He says, Masdar al-Talaqqi. What is your source information when it comes to Islam? This is the first thing that is gauged from a person from being from people of innovation or not from the people of innovation. What is their masdar al-Talaqqi? Yani, what is their source information for getting their Islamic information? Number one, al-Kitab, al-Quran. The first source is the Quran. The second source is a Sunnah. And the third source is al-Ijma'. فَإِمَّةُ السَّلَفِ الصَّالِحِ يَسْتَمِدُّونَ دِينَهُ مِنَ الْكِتَابِ وَالسُّنَّةِ وَالْإِجْمَاعِ. And we find that the pious predecessors, they took their religion from the Quran and from the Sunnah and from Ijma'. لا يأخذون أقائدهم إلا من هذه الأصول الثلاثة. And they did not take their belief system and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala except by these three means here: the Quran, the Sunnah, and the consensus of the ulama. فَلَا يُقَدِّمُونَ عَلَيْهَا قَوْلُ أَحَدٍ مِّنَ النَّاسِ. And therefore we don't find anyone taking the statement of anyone else over the Quran, Sunnah, and Ijma'. And this is very important. We don't find any of the scholars of the past taking a statement of any individual over the Quran, Sunnah, and Ijma'. In other words, if someone has a statement, then we have to weigh their statement up against the Quran, the Sunnah, and al-Ijma'. طيب. ولا يحتاجون بالعقل ولا غيره على حساب الوحي. And we don't find people using their intellect as a gauge over the Quran and the Sunnah. In other words, you can't find anything in the book and the Sunnah, but you use your intellect and say, oh, this is what it is. These are from the ways of the people of innovation. These are the real people of innovation. This is what they do. They look for, they find a position on something, and then they look to see if they can find something from the Quran or Sunnah to support what they do. And if they can't find it, they leave that off and just stick with their statement. But if they find something from the Quran, Sunnah, or a statement from the Salaf, then they'll add that to support what they're saying. This is what real people of innovation do. Real people, this is what they do. فَمَنْ خَالَفَ السَّلَفِ مَصْدَرَ التَّلَقِّي لَمْ يَكُنْ مِنْهُمْ وَلَا عَلَى هَدْيِهِمْ وَيُعَدَّ مِنْ أَهْلُ أَهْوَاءِ وَبِدْعَةِ. And whoever goes against the way of the scholars of the past, the Salaf, with regards to gaining their information about Islam, the Quran, Sunnah, or Ijma', then this person will be considered the people of innovation and the people of desires. طيب. ولهذا كان أصل حقيقة هو فيصل بين أهل السنة والجماعة وغيرهم من أهل البدع والفرقة. And this here is a clear distinguishing factor between the people of Sunnah and the people of Bid'ah. The people of Bid'ah, and this is only the first principle we're mentioning here, their source information is not the Quran, Sunnah, nor is it Ijma', nor is it scholarly consensus. Whereas people of the Sunnah, their source information is the Quran, the Sunnah, and the scholarly consensus. طيب. قال قوام السنة أبو القاسم التيمي رحمه الله في تقرير هذا. al-Asl Azim. And he says in his book, Imam Qawwam al-Sunnah Abu al-Qasim al-Asbahani, he says in his book called Al-Hujjatu fi Bayan al-Mahajjah, he says, قال بعض العلماء, some of the scholars of Islam, وأهل السنة والجماعة لم تتعدى الكتاب والسنة والإجماع سلف الصالح. He said that the scholars of the past would not go beyond the Quran, the Sunnah, and the consensus of the scholars of the past. وَلَمْ تَتَّبِعْ الْمُتَشَابِهِ وَالتَّأْوِيلِ ابْتِغَاءَ الْفِتْنَةِ. And they would not follow those verses in the Quran and those different Sunnah that may be cloudy or may not be entirely clear, causing fitna, trying to cause fitna. وَإِنَّمَا اتَّبِعُوا الصَّحَابَةَ وَالتَّابِعِينَ وَمَا أَجْمَعَ مُسْلِمُونَ عَلَيْهِ قَوْلًا وَعَمَلًا. Rather, we find them agreeing with the Sahaba and the Tabi'een, the students of the Sahaba, وَمَا أَجْمَعَ مُسْلِمُونَ, and that which the Muslims, meaning the ulama during that time, have agreed upon, قَوْلًا وَعَمَلًا, statement and action. Statement and action. وقال أيضا أبو عباس ابن تيمية رحمه الله تعالى. Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, he said, and this is very important, he said, فَمَنْ قَالَ بِالْكِتَابِ وَالسُّنَّةِ وَالْإِجْمَاعِ فَهُوَ مِنْ أَهْلِ السُّنَّةِ وَالْجَمَاعَةِ. Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, he says in his Majmu' Fatawa, whoever says what is in the Quran and what is in the Sunnah and what the consensus of the scholars say, and we're not talking about scholars of today, we're talking about consensus of the scholars of the past, meaning the Sahaba, and some say the Tabi and the Atba' Tabi. The Sahaba, the students of the Sahaba, and the students of the students of the Sahaba. Those are the Qurun al-Mufaddala. Those are the first three generations of the Muslims. So there are some people that may say this is not sufficient, meaning the Quran, the Sunnah, and the Ijma'. Some say this is not sufficient. This is the kalam of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, who died in the year 728. And this was the kalam of the ulama that came before him. So whoever says this is not sufficient, then I kindly request that they bring some ulama that refuted this kalam of Shaykh al-Islam and said this is not correct from the past. Who from the past said this here approach is not correct? As this is what many of the ulama teach today and in the past, even during the time of Imam Ahmed and other than them, rahimahumullah ta'ala. Qala rahimahullah. So Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, he says, فَعَلَى كُلِّ مُؤْمِنٍ أَلَّا يَتَكَلَّمُوا فِي شَيْءٍ مِّنَ الدِّينِ إِلَّا تَبَعًا لِمَا جَاءَ بِهِ الرَّسُولُ. And so the Shaykh al-Islam, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, it is upon every believer that they should not speak in anything in the religion unless they are following that of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. Think for a minute. We have people in this city that run around calling everybody that don't pray with them in their masjid or masajid that they are from Ahlul Bid'ah. I say to them, hey hat. Ish indak min ad-dalil. What do you have from evidence? Our religion is perfect. Surely if there was bid'ah, then it would be clear that everyone can see. For surety, if people were upon innovation, there would be no secrets about it. There's no hidden innovation here. People would know. And if the innovation was hidden, is it from the methodology of the Salaf to spread that innovation that those people have if it's hidden? That's a whole nother bab. That's a whole nother chapter. But we're not going to get into that today, inshallah ta'ala. At any event, Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, he says, وَلَا يَتَقَدَّمُوا بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ بَلْ يَنْظُرْ مَا قَالَ فَيَكُونُ قَوْلَهُ تَبَعًا لِقَوْلِهِ. And so a person, they look at their own speech. Does their speech coincide with the speech of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam? وَعِلْمُهُ تَبَعًا لِأَمْرِهِ. And does that person's knowledge follow the guidance and commands of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam? فَهَكَذَا كَانَ الصَّحَابَةِ. And like this was the way of the Sahaba, وَمَنْ سَلَكَ سَبِيلَهُمْ. And the ones who followed their path, مِنَ التَّابِعِينَ لَهُمْ بِإِحْسَانٍ. And for those who followed them as well. وَأَئِمَّةُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ فَلِهَذَا لَمْ يَكُنْ أَحَدٌ مِّنْهُمْ يُعَارِضُ النُّصُوص بِمَعْقُولِهِ. And for this reason, We don't find any of them going against the text with their intellect. We don't find any of them going against the text with their intellect. وَلَا يُؤَسَّسُ دِينًا غَيْرَ مَا جَاءَ بِهِ الرَّسُولُ. And they don't establish anything from the deen except by way of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. وإذا أراد معرفة الشيء من الدين والكلام فيه نظر فيما قاله الله والرسول فمنه يتكلم وبه يتكلم ومنه يتعلم وبه يتكلم. During this time, we will only find people that they will speak with that which Allah said or His Messenger said. They will speak with that which Allah said or His Messenger said. وَأَهْلُ بِدْعَةٍ. One thing about the people of innovation, we're talking about real people of innovation, not the boogeyman. Not the one who doesn't pray with you in your masjid. Not the one who, and we're going to get into some other issues inshallah ta'ala, bi'idhnillah. وأهل البدعة لا يجعلون اعتمادهم في الباطن ونفس الأمر على ما تلقوه عن الرسول بل على ما رأوه أو ذاقوه. One of the things about Ahlul Bid'ah is that they get their stuff from their minds. From their minds. They come up with stuff, they come up with principles from their mind and they put them on other people. They come up with stuff on their mind and they put them on other people. ثُمَّ إِنْ وَجِدُوا السُّنَّةَ تَوَافِقُهُ. And then they look for the sunnah. If they find that the sunnah agrees with them, أَهْلًا وَمَرْحَبًا. And if they find that the sunnah does not agree with them, then they will leave it. وَأَعْرَضُوا عَنْهَا تَفْوِيدًا وَحَرَّفُوهَا تَأْوِيلًا. And they will turn away from it, and they will turn away from it, or they will change it to mean that which suits their desire. فهذا هو فرقان بين أهل الإيمان والسنة وأهل النفاق والبدعة. And that is a determining factor between the people of innovation and the people of sunnah. So think about this. When you hear these things, these people of innovation and so on and so forth, have in your mind, what have these people done to warrant such claims? What have they done? What did they do to warrant those claims? ومن الجدير بالذكر أن المراد بالإجماع. So now we're going to discuss ijma. Remind you, we're still in the very first principle. What's the first principle again? Quran, Sunnah, and ijma. طيب. So now we're going to discuss ijma. What is ijma? هنا هو ما كان عليه أصحاب القرون الثلاثة المفضلة. Al-ijma is what we find the first three generations of the Muslims upon. من الصحابة, from the tabi'een, and the students of the tabi'een. If ijma'ahum huwa mundabit, faminhum huwa mu'tabar. Their ijma' is mundabit, meaning it's calculated, it's precise, it's clear. Qala Imam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala. Why are we using Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah so much? Many of the ulama consider Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah to be min al-muhaqqiqeen. From the scholars of the past, he was able to research a lot of the history of the ulama that came before him, and he brought a lot of their speech. And it's found in one place. Okay? It doesn't mean that Shaykh al-Islam is the end-all, be-all. La. However, the things that he brings that which the ulama from before him brought. And he says, في التقرير الإجماع المنضبط طريقة أهل السنة والجماعة اتباع آثار الرسول باطنا وظاهرا. He said, from the path of the people of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah is that they follow the narrations of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, batinan wa zahiran, inwardly and outwardly. So we don't want to be from those people. We outwardly say sunnah, sunnah, and then we inwardly, wa yada billah, we'll leave it at that. وَاتِّبَعْ سَبِيلَ السَّابِقِينَ الْأَوَّلِينَ مِنَ الْمُهَاجِرِينَ وَالْأَنصَارِ. And rather we follow the path of the muhajirin and the ansar. The muhajirin, who are they? And who are the ansar? Does anyone know? Who are the muhajirin?
Muhajirin are those who migrated from Mecca to Medina with the Prophet.
Ahsant.
And the ansar are those who were in Medina waiting for them.
Ahsant. So he says, وَاتِّبَعْ وَصِيَّةُ الرَّسُولِ حَيْثُ قَالَ عَلَيْكُمْ بِالسُّنَّةِ. And also following the guidance of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, where he said, upon you is my sunnah, وَسُنَّةُ خُلَفَاءِ الرَّاشِدِينَ مِنْ بَعْدِي. وَيَعْلَمُونَ أَنَّ أَصْدَقَ الْكَلَامِ كَلَامُ اللَّهِ. And we also know that the best speech is the speech of Allah, and the best guidance is the guidance of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. قال الإمام أحمد رحمه الله تعالى. Imam Ahmed, he mentions أصول السنة عندنا التمسك بما كان عليه أصحاب الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم والاقتداء بهم وترك البدعة. Imam Ahmed said, the foundations of the Sunnah with us is holding on to what the companions of the Prophet ﷺ was upon and following them and leaving off innovation. So then, the first thing we mentioned about innovation thus far was what? The first principle of, in order for us to know a person that is from the Sunnah, what is the first principle? That he takes from the three primary sources, the Quran, the Sunnah, and Ijma'. This is called Masdar al-Talaqqi. This is called Masadir al-Talaqqi, يعني the source information. طيب. قال إمام ابن تيمية رحمه الله تعالى فعلم أن شعار أهل بدعة وترك انتحال اتباع السلف. From the signs of the people of innovation is that they leave off following the Salaf. And when we say the Salaf here, that which they agreed upon. ليس فرد من أفراد السلف. It doesn't mean one person from the Salaf, rather that which they have agreed upon. طيب. So then the second principle, so all of that had to do with what? The first principle. The second principle, and this is very important, write this down. المسائل الاعتقادية أو العملية الجليلة التي اشتهرت عند أهل العلم بالسنة وموافقتها للكتاب والسنة والإجماع وهي تعرف بالأصول. The second principle here are many issues. So pay attention. Let's make it tricky. The first one is that Ahlul Sunnah, the source materials of Quran, Sunnah, and what? And Ijma', and the scholarly consensus. Sah? طيب. The next one, Al-Amru Thani, the next issue is Masail al-I'tiqadiyya. Certain issues of i'tiqad. Certain issues of belief, and certain issues of amaliyya that have to do with actions that we do. But which ones are we talking about? The actions that have become famous or well known to scholars during that particular time that agrees with the Quran, Sunnah, and the consensus of the scholars. Does that make sense? Or no? Huh? It doesn't make sense. So then, when they say the usul of the religion, we'll find when they say the usul, they say this goes against the usul. And we're not talking about usul al-fiqh. We're talking about usul here in order to be from Ahlul Sunnah. There is a asl, there's usul there. Those usul, inside of it, you have issues of aqeedah and you have issues of fiqh. Some people say, la, usul is only aqeedah and furu' is only fiqh, hada batil. Here, we find that in the issues of usul, meaning the fundamental issues of the religion, in order for people to be from Ahlul Sunnah, there are issues of aqeedah in there, and there are issues of the Sunnah in there, inside of it. Does that make sense? Or no? Did I lose anybody? طيب. ومن خالف أصلا من الأصول التي اشتهرت موافقتها للكتاب والسنة والإجماع فقد خرج عن هدي السلف الصالح. Whoever goes against any of those principles, what are those principles? We're going to talk about some of them. The principles, so the first one was what? Quran, Sunnah, Ijma'. The second one was what? Going against issues that have become famous in the religion. And those issues that have become famous in a religion comprise of issues of i'tiqad, belief, and some issues of fiqh. Wadah? Is that clear? طيب. And the key element here is that these issues have become famous, well known. طيب. Whoever goes against those issues that are considered the usul, then they have gone against the minhaj of the salaf. When we say that these people don't practice the minhaj of the salaf, that means they went against one of these usul here. You must. There's no going against the way of the salaf unless you go against what? One of the usul. Wadah? Is that clear? طيب. So then, وسبب تعليق هذا الحكم بالأصول أن المسائل التي تعد أصولا دلت النصوص عليها دلالة واضحة. The issues that are considered usul, we find that the Quran, Sunnah, and Ijma' also indicate the importance of these issues. And the ulama of al-Islam are busy with them and they understand them in great detail. فَكَوْنُهَا مِنْ أُصُولِ الدِّينِ يُوجِبُ أَن تَكُونَ مِنْ أَهَمَّ أُمُورِ الدِّينِ. For these issues to be considered the usul, or the fundamentals of the religion, then know that these issues are very important. These issues are considered to be very important. وهذا يرجع إلى الأصل وهو أن الله قد نص على كل من يعصمه من المهالك نصا قاطعا للعذر. So we find that when it comes to these issues of usul, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us these issues and we will understand them. And if you go against them, a person could possibly be destroyed. In some cases, there are excuses. And in other cases, there are no excuses. In some cases, there are excuses. A person may have an udhr. And in other cases, there are not excuses. قال الله تعالى وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيُدِلَّ قَوْمًا بَعْدَ إِذْ هَدَاهُمْ حَتَّى يُبَيِّنَ لَهُمْ مَا يَتَّقُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, He will not mislead a group of people, or people will not be led astray, or people will not be off the straight path, حَتَّى يُبَيِّنَ لَهُمْ, until it becomes clear to them, until it becomes clear with them that which they should be following. So in other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we will be warned. We will have evidence, we will have things in place. We will not be punished unless things are clear. It's been made clear to us. Whereas, unfortunately, we have here in this city, people have been labeled and demonized as innovators and don't know why. This masjid here, a brother told me this masjid is a masjid of bid'ah. So I asked the brother, mashallah, masjid of bid'ah. Nah, masjid of bid'ah. Tayyib. What's the bid'ah, akhi? I saw a brother with dhikr beads. Mashallah. Sheikh Fawzan said dhikr beads was okay. And some of the other ulama said dhikr beads were okay. Tayyib. Next issue. This is masjid of innovation. Well, why is that? They didn't touch my foot to foot and shoulder to shoulder in the salah. Yeah, akhi, you ever prayed in the haram in Mecca? Huh? Have you ever prayed in the haram in Mecca or in the masjid of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam? No one touches their feet. No one touches feet. Are you telling me the masjid of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam is masjid bid'ah based on that? And this is the problem. Some of us, and this responsibility goes back to the ones that are educating the people. You cannot give people, lay people, licenses to talk about issues that you know they don't understand what they're talking about. This leads to destroying families. This leads to destroying communities. This leads to pushing people away from Islam. This leads to pushing people away from the Sunnah. Most people accept Islam, they want to follow the Haqq. They don't want to be led astray. And so the next issue here, Qala Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, he mentions in his Majmu' Fatawa, or before that he says, فَالْبِدْعَةُ الَّتِي يُعِدُّ بِهَا الرَّجُلُ مِنْ أَهْلُ أَهْوَى وَهِيَ. So the bid'ah that a person can do that will lead them to the people of innovation is what? وَهِيَ مَا اشْتَهَرَ عِنْدَ أَهْلُ الْعِلْمِ بِالسُّنَّةِ مُخَالَفَتُهَا لِلْكِتَابِ وَالسُّنَّةِ وَالْإِجْمَاعِ. It says that whatever has become famous to the ulama of the past, Ahlul Sunnah, that this particular action is in opposition of what they agreed upon in the past, or is in opposition to that which is well known to the scholars of the past. So I ask anyone, if this masjid here is a masjid of innovation, what did they do that's in opposition to the scholars of the past that they agreed upon? فَمَنْ وَقَعَ فِيهَا فَهُوَ مِنْ أَهْلُ الْإِبْتِدَاعِ. Whoever falls in it, in these oppositions, then there are people from innovation. وَمِنْ أَمْثِلَتِهَا. So now they're going to mention some examples. We need examples. الْإِلْحَادَ فِي أَسْمَاءِ اللَّهِ وَصِفَاتِهِ. Denying the names and attributes of Allah. If not all of them, some of them. Denying some of the names and attributes of Allah. التكذيب بالقدر. They don't believe in the qadr. Do we have this issue in this masjid? Anybody here deny the names and attributes of Allah? طيب. The next one. التكذيب بالقدر. Are there people here that disbelieve in the qadr? You know what the qadr is? The decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anyone disbelieves in that? طيب. The next one, وَالتَّجْوِيز خُرُوج عَنْ شَرِيعَةِ النَّبِي صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. Is there anyone in here that believes that it's permissible to go outside the guidance of the Prophet ﷺ and his sharia? Is anyone here that believes that? طيب, alhamdulillah. طيب. وَالْغُلُو فِي الدِّينِ بِأَنْ يُنَزَّلَ الْبَشَرِ مَنْزِلَةَ الْإِلَهِ. Is there anyone in this masjid that considers a person from a human being to be on the level of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Alhamdulillah. طيب. وَخُرُوج عَلَى أَئِمَّةِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. Does anyone here see that it's permissible to make khuruj on the leaders of the Muslims, to fight against them and then remove them from power? وَإِنْكَارِ. And look, this here is a fiqh issue. Shuf. The other ones had something to do with aqidah, and the next one was وَالْمَسْحَ عَلَى خُفَّيْنِ, and wiping over the socks. So someone may say, why is wiping over the socks considered such an important issue in the religion? Because this is in opposition to the Shia. The Shia don't believe in wiping over the socks. Rather, this is something that is specific to Ahlul Sunnah. This is something that is specific to Ahlul Sunnah. طيب. قال إمام سفيان ibn Uyayna رحمه الله تعالى. Sufyan ibn Uyayna rahimahullah, he mentions in a statement, شرح أصول الاعتقاد أهل السنة للإمام اللالكائي. And this is a tremendous book. Whoever is able to get it, purchase it. He says, as-sunnatu. Have any of you guys ever heard a person say to you, these people are not upon the sunnah? Huh? You ever hear somebody say they're not on the sunnah? Like, you ever ask yourself, which sunnah? We have thousands of ahadith. Which one is it? Are there a specific group of ahadith we're not allowed to go against? If so, what are they? Huh? If someone tells you you're not upon the sunnah, which sunnah are they talking about? You ever think to ask that question? Which sunnah? Which sunnah? There are plenty. We have ahadith, Bukhari, Muslim, Abi Dawood, At-Tirmidhi, huh? Ibn Majah, An-Nasa'i. We have tons of ahadith. Which sunnah are we talking about? Does anyone know? So Sufyan ibn Uyayna, he says, as-sunnah ashara. There are 10 things from the sunnah. If a person goes against them, then they're outside of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. He says, فَمَنْ كُنَّ فِيهِ فَقَدْ اسْتَكْمَلَ السُّنَّةِ. Whoever is able to do it, then they have completed the sunnah. وَمَنْ تَرَكَ مِنْهَا شَيْئًا فَقَدْ تَرَكَ السُّنَّةِ. And whoever left anything from those things, then they have left the sunnah. Mark this down and see if we find people doing this in any of the masajid that you go to. Huh? Ithbatul qadr. The first thing a person must do is affirm the qadr. Believe in the qadr of Allah. So if you find anybody, pay attention. Ithbatul qadr. Taqdeem Abu Bakr wa Umar. You believe that Abu Bakr and Umar should be in the places that they are. In other words, the Khilafat of Rasul, Ba'da al-Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, the Khulafa al-Rashideen, you must believe that the Khilafat of Abu Bakr is correct and Umar. Why didn't they mention Uthman and Ali? Huh? Because there's some difference of opinion from some of the ulama of the past. In fadl, in virtue, not in khilafah, not in terms of them being able to be the khalifa in their order. And that's another story. Wal hawd. Does anyone here believe in al-hawd? The hawd of the Prophet, the river of the Prophet, you must believe that. Wal shafa'ah. That the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, there will be an intercession on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Wal mizan. You also must believe in the scale. Wal sirat. That there's going to be a bridge that you have to cross. Wal imanu qawlu wa amal. You must believe that iman in Allah is speech and action. And likewise, a belief in the heart, speech and action. And you must believe al-Qur'an kalam Allah. That the Qur'an is the speech of Allah. You must also believe adab al-qabr. You also must believe in the punishment of the grave. And the last one is al-ba'ath yawm al-qiyamah. You must believe in a resurrection on the day of judgment. People will be brought back on the day of judgment. These are the 10 sunan. According to Imam Sufyan ibn Uyayna, rahimahullah ta'ala. طيب. Continue. طيب. قال إمام علي ibn Abdini, rahimahullah ta'ala. السنة اللازمة التي من ترك منها خصلة لم يقلها أو يؤمن بما لم يكن من أهلها وذكر جملة من أصول أهل السنة. So Imam Ali ibn Abdini, he said a sunnah al-lazima, the sunnah that is incumbent, is that, and if you leave one part of it, then you will not be from the people of the Sunnah. You will not be considered from the people of the Sunnah. And like this, some of the Sunnah that was just mentioned. قال Imam Ibn Qutaybah. Imam Ibn Qutaybah, he mentions أصحاب الحديث كلهم مجمعون على أن ما شاء الله كان. He said, Ibn Qutaybah said, all of them, the companions of hadith, كلهم مجمعون على أن ما شاء الله كان. All of the scholars of hadith, they believe that, and there is a consensus that whatever Allah decrees, and that's what it is. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَشَاء لَا يَكُونَ. And whatever Allah doesn't want to happen will not happen. وَعَلَى أَنَّهُ خَالِقُ الْخَيْرِ وَالشَّرِّ. And that Allah created evil and good. وَعَلَى أَنَّ الْقُرْآنَ كَلَامَ اللَّهِ غَيْرُ مَخْلُوقٍ. And that the Qur'an is the speech of Allah and is not created. وَعَلَى أَنَّ اللَّهَ تَعَالَى يُرَى يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. And that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be seen on the day of judgment. وَتَقْدِيمَ الشَّيْخَيْنِ. And when they say putting forward the Shaykhain, they're talking about Abu Bakr wa Umar. وَعَلَى الْإِيمَانِ بِعَذَابِ الْقَبْرِ. Belief in the punishment of the grave. وَلَا يَخْتَلِفُونَ فِي هَذِهِ الْأُصُولِ. وَمَنْ فَارَقَهُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ مِّنْهَا نَابَذُوا وَبَاغَضُوهُ وَبَدَّعُوهُ وَهَجَّرُوهُ. Whoever disbelieves in anything that was mentioned, then these people will make them into Ahlul Bid'ah. These are people of Bid'ah, and they are to be warned against, so on and so forth. How many people have you met that disbelieve in those things? No, they have. I'm sure it's people in America. But I'm saying we should be, now it's identifiable. So now I'm giving you tools. You take them and you walk out the masjid with them. These people are bid'ah. You say, what do they disbelieve in? I have a list of sunnah in here that was reported. You show me which one they go against. That way people, instead of walking around aimlessly and feeling like you have to take what someone tells you because you don't want to ask questions, now you have tools. Take these tools and apply them. And not just to be put in your book, put on your shelf, and thrown in the closet. Challenge the people that are teaching you. Challenge the people that challenge me. Not that. طيب. فقد ذكر هؤلاء أئمة الشيء من أصول أهل السنة والجماعة ورتبا على من خالفها أو ترك خاصة منها خروجه عن السنة. Whoever opposes any of those affairs, then they are outside of the circle of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah. Then we're going to mention another statement of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah ta'ala, and he says, ومن هنا قال إمام ابن تيمية ومن خالف الكتاب المستبين. Whoever goes against the Quran and the verses that are clear, والسنة مستفيضة, and the sunnah, the ahadith that are clear. أو ما أجمع عليه السلف أمة خلافا لا يعذر فيه فهذا يعامل بما يعامل به أهل البدعة. Whoever goes against those affairs and the consensus of the scholars of the past, then they are to be dealt with as if they were people of innovation, unless there is an issue that there is an excuse that there can be some differing in. وقال أن المخالفين للحق المبين من الكتاب والسنة هم عند جمهور أمة معروفون بالبدعة. And whoever goes against the Quran, the مخالفين للحق, the ones who goes against that which is clear from the Quran and the Sunnah, and according to the majority of the Ummah, they went against the majority of the Ummah, معروفون بالبدعة. These people are well known to be people of innovation. مشهود عليهم بالضلالة. And people will consider them to be people of ضلالة. وَلَيْسَ لَهُمْ فِي الْأُمَّةِ لِسَانٌ صِدْقٍ. And these people do not have a truthful tongue, and their speech should not be accepted in general. And they mention from those groups are the Khawarij. The Khawarij. Who are the Khawarij? These are people that believe it's halal to kill the Muslims. While the Rawafid. Who are the Rawafid? These are the people that what? They curse the Sahaba and so on and so forth. And then we have the Qadariyah. Who are the Qadariyah? These people deny the Qadr. They don't believe in the Qadr. They believe that things happen and Allah is not aware of it. They believe that things happen to us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not aware of. وَنَحْوِهِمْ إِنَّمَا يَتَنَازَوْ أَهْلُ الْعِلْمِ وَالسُّنَّةِ فِي أَمُورِ الدَّقِيقَةِ. And after that, there are issues that are very intricate that many people may not be aware of. طيب. وقال والبدعة التي يعد بها الرجل من أهل أهواء. So the bid'ah that a person will be considered from أهل أهواء, the people of desires, ما اشتهر عند أهل العلم بالسنة مخالفتها للكتاب والسنة. The things that are famous, as we mentioned before, a person will not be considered to be from Ahlul Bid'ah unless they go against something that is famous from the Quran, that which the scholars have agreed upon from the Quran, Sunnah, and consensus. Like the Bid'ah of the Khawarij, or the Rawafid, or the Qadariyah, or the Murji'ah. Well, who are the Murji'ah? Does anyone know? Huh? The Murji'ah are people that commit sins and they don't believe their iman decreases or increases. Rather, it stays the same, like the malaika and so on and so forth. Huh? And they be little sins, no doubt. They be little sins and they're easy with regards to sins. It's okay to be a sinner. It's okay. As long as it's okay. This is what they believe. طيب. فَلَيْسَ كُلُّ مَسْأَلَةٍ يُدَلَّلُ فِيهَا الْمُخَالِفِ. However, now we're going to move on to another issue. So we established that which is famous. If you go against them in general, you went against the methodology of the Salaf. We still got time, Sheikh? We might have to delay Isha a little bit. Labats? 10:05? I mean, I have to get through this. Malish. Don't get mad at me, Right. So then, notice how whoever went against that which is famous and well known from Ahlul Ilm, from the scholars of the past, they fell into bid'ah. Sah? Tayyib. So we have two principles so far. The first one is Quran, Sunnah, and what? And Ijma. Consensus of the scholars. The next issue is we have those issues that are famous and well known to the scholars of the past. Well-known issues. And inside of these issues, we have issues of Aqidah, and we have issues of mu'amalat and actions. Actions. Like wiping over the socks, so on and so forth. So, we have this here in this hand, and this here in that hand, right? Whoever goes against that which is famous and well-known among those scholars, they are to be considered what? People of innovation, right? But pump your brakes. Because now we're going to go into another realm here. فَلَيْسَ كُلُّ مَسْأَلَةً يُدَلَّلُ فِيهَا الْمُخَالِفِ. Not every issue, you say that this person is an innovator because they go against it. But why not? It says, إِنَّمَا مَدَارُ ذَلِكَ كُلُّهُ عَلَى مَا إِذَا كَانَتْ الْمَسْأَلَةُ أَصْلًا مِنْ أُصُولِ أَهْلِ السُّنَّةِ وَالْجَمَاعَةِ أَمْ لَا. The first thing we have to look at, is that issue that they went against considered from the asl, the fundamental issues of the religion, or not? Here in this city, people warned against Tahir, Mufti, Shadid, and whoever else. What fundamental issue did any of those brothers go against? The fundamental issue from the deen. Hats. Anybody? You know how late at night when you hear the crickets? That's what I hear, crickets chirping. Nothing. And if you know, and no one else knows except for you, then educate the masses. What is the fundamental from usul of the deen that these people went against? Right. The next one. Su'ila Imam Ahmed. So now we're going to look at how did the ulama of the past deal with people that went against some of these issues and that they didn't make tabdi' of them. Su'ila Imam Ahmed amma qala Abu Bakr wa Umar wa Ali wa Uthman. Imam Ahmed was asked about a person who mentions Abu Bakr, and then he mentions Umar, and then he mentions Ali, and then Uthman. Understand that? In that order. Not Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, Umar ibn Khattab, Uthman ibn Affan, and Ali ibn Abi Talib. La. He didn't mention it in that order. He mentioned Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, Umar ibn Khattab, Ali ibn Abi Talib, and Uthman ibn Affan last. So they asked Imam Ahmed about. We know who Imam Ahmed is, right? طيب. فقال ما يعجبني هذا القول. Imam Ahmed said, I don't like that statement. I don't like that statement. قيل له فيقال إنه مبتدع. He said, should we say that this person is an innovator? Should we say that this person is an innovator? قال Imam Ahmed said, أقرأ أن أبدعه البدعة الشديدة. He said, I hate to call that person an innovator because saying a person is an innovator is a serious affair. It's a hard thing to do. Yet we find lay people. And this is what happens when you have no knowledge. It's easy to say whatever you want. You have no parameters and no rules. Lay people and some students run around and say everybody's an innovator. We have Imam Ahmed, Imam Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. A person said that one of those companions, the Khulafa al-Rashideen, was better than the other one. And everyone knows that it has been agreed upon. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, Umar, Uthman, and Ali. He says, La, Ali then Uthman. He says, I hate to call this person an innovator because calling a person an innovation is a serious affair. طيب. ولهذا كان أئمة الإسلام متفقين على التبديع من خالف في مسائل الأصول خلافا لا يعذر به. And so we find in general that the scholars of the past, they don't have an issue with making tabdi', considering a person to be an innovator who went against the affairs that have been agreed upon. بخلاف من نازع في مسائل الاجتهاد. However, the issues of ijtihad التي لم تبلغ هذا مبلغ. The issues of ijtihad, there's no agreement upon them, so therefore the scholars do not make tabdi' of people that go against one another of issues of ijtihad. Like what? Opinion of a scholar of this particular person. A scholar says this person is an innovator. Another scholar says, I don't see that person to be an innovator. You take the position of that scholar, he take the position of that scholar, because you didn't follow that scholar, now you're an innovator. If you don't make tabdi' of the person I consider to be an innovator, now you're an innovator. See how that goes? And then you got people don't even know why they're doing it. It's just, okay, he's an innovator. Okay, cool. I just don't want to be ostracized. I can't make it on my own. I just got to do what everybody else said. مشكلة. قال أبو القاسم التيمي قال بعض العلماء ما اختلفوا فيه من المسائل الاجتهادية والفروع الدينية فإن الإنسان لا يسير به مبتدعا ولا مذموما متوعدا. Imam Abu al-Qasim al-Taymi, he said, some of the ulama, they said, مَا اخْتَلَفُوا فِيهِ مِنَ الْمَسَائِلِ الْاجْتِهَادِيَّةِ. That which the scholars differ in with regards to the issue of khilaf, legitimate issues of differing, and the issues of furu', the subsidiary issues of the deen. For indeed a person is not made out to be an innovator, nor are they considered to be sinful, nor are they warned against, mutawa'idan. This is something that is very important for people to understand. Now we're going to move on to the last part. We left some stuff out, but this last part here is also very important. Right now, we just mentioned people in general. Whoever goes against that which is well known is considered people of innovation. Do we make ta'yeen on people because of this? Do we say, okay, now you, Muhammad, you're an innovator now? Do we do that? And does the same rules apply? In other words, in general, whoever goes against Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, then the people of innovation, if they went against those things that are agreed upon in the religion. This is in general. Do we make that specific now to individuals? Yes or no? Now we're going to find that out. حكم معين إذا خالف أصل من أصول أئمة السلف. What is the ruling if we find someone, an individual going against one of the usuls or the fundamental principles of Ahlul Sunnah? Do we right away say, this person's an innovator, he doesn't know this here, we got him? Do we do that? Yes or no? Well, we're going to listen to the rules. There are rules for that too. There's all rules. It's not, it doesn't just come to your head and you just, osmosis and all that. No. We have things in place that help us. It says, وَمَا تَقَدَّمَ تَقْرِيرُهُ فِي الْمَبْحَثِ الْأَوَّلِ. And he mentions what was mentioned in the first part of this book. مَنْ أَنَّ مَنْ خَالَفَ أَصْلَ مِنْ أُصُولَ أَهْلُ السُّنَّةِ وَالْجَمَاعَةِ فَقَدْ خَرَجَ عَنْ هَدْيِ السَّلَفِ الصَّالِحِ. Whoever goes against an origin or a principle from Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, then they have left off the way of the Salaf. وَصَارَ مِنْ أَهْلِ الْبِدْعِ. And they have become from the people of innovation. هُوَ مِنْ حَيْثِ الْجُمْلَةِ وَالْحُكْمِ مُطْلَقٍ. This is in general. Whoever goes against the way of the Salaf, in general, they take the ruling of Ahlul Bid'ah if they went against one of those core principles that we mentioned. In general. Amma min haythu ta'yin, however, with regards to specifying individuals, with regards to specifying individuals, al-hukm al-afrad, a ruling on individuals. And the reason why we're mentioning this, please bear in mind, the reason why we're mentioning this is not so that you can go out and say, yes, this person's an individual. Nah, this is not your shughl. It's not your job. Making tabdiyah of individuals is not your job. Why do you want to wear that on Yawm al-Qiyamah? Spare yourself. Leave that for the scholars. That's their level. Why would a lay person put himself in the shoes of a scholar making tabdiyah? Why would a student of knowledge do that? Why? You don't have to wear that. Give that to the ulama. Let them wear that. They're scholars. Let them handle that in front of Allah. Why do you want to wear that? Our plates are filled with everything else we got to deal with. Why do you want to put something else on your plate, Yawm al-Qiyamah, that you can't handle? فَإِنَّ فِي الْمَسْأَلَةِ تَفْصِيلًا. And so he says, in this issue, there's a lot of detail. إِذْ لَيْسَ كُلُّ مَنْ وَقَعَ فِي بِدْعَةٍ وَقَعَتْ بِدْعَةٍ عَلَيْهِ. Every person that falls into a bid'ah, it doesn't mean that they are an innovator. Every person who falls into bid'ah doesn't mean that they are innovators. ذَلِكَ أَنَّ الرَّجُلَ إِذَا كَانَ مُوَالِيًا لِلسَّلَفِ. This is because if a man, if he loves the Salaf, وَمَصْدَرُ وَالْإِسْتِدْلَاء عِنْدَهُ مُوَافَقًا لِمَا عَلَيْهِ السَّلَفِ. And if he sees the Quran, Sunnah, and Ijma to be the return points for all of his affairs, وَوَقَعَ مَا ذَلِكَ فِي شَيْءٍ مِمَّا يُخَالِفُ أُصُولِ السَّلَفِ خَطَأً. And all of a sudden that individual, he fell into something that went against the understanding of the Salaf by accident. He made a mistake. He made a legitimate mistake, believing that the issue he was talking about, he was right, but in fact he was wrong. In addition to that, لَمْ يُوَالِي وَيُعَادِي عَلَيْهِ. And he does not love people or hate them based on the position that he took. He's not using his position to love people about it or hate people about the position that he took. فَإِنَّهُ لَا يَخْرُجُ عَنْ حَدَّ السَّلَفِ بِذَلِكَ خَطَأ. For indeed, based on those things right there, that person does not leave off the minhaj or the way of the Salaf. What does that look like? We have brothers in this city. Let's say Mufti, Muhammad Munir. I'm not even saying he made a mistake because I don't believe he made a mistake. But let's just say he made a mistake. Everything that everyone knows about the brother, he loves the Sunnah. He loves the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. In fact, he has a site called Hadith Disciples. Anytime you look at his class, it's all hadith. Studying, learning, getting closer to Allah. طيب. If that person, Mufti, and I'm not saying he made a mistake, if he happens to make a mistake, we got him, he's an innovator. La. Not according to this. Not according to the ulama. وَلَا يَكُونُ مُبْتَدِعًا. And he's not considered an innovator. But we say what? وَافَقَ أَهْلُ بِدْعَةٍ فِي كَذَا وَكَذَا. But what we say is, in this issue, that person agreed with Ahlul Bid'ah in this particular issue. Shuf how perfect Islam is. We don't say, in all issues of the deen, he's an innovator. He made innovation in this issue right here. I ask all of you, billah, these masajid and these people that you consider to be people of innovation, where is their innovation? Be very specific. Because if you're wrong, you're going to have to wear that on Yawm al-Qiyamah. طيب. And there's another thing that is very important. In order to label a person, an individual, to be from Ahlul Bid'ah or innovation, لابد توفر فيه شروط. All of the conditions must be met when tafat al-mawani, and all of the prohibitors are removed. فإنه مثلهم وحكمه حكمهم. If all of those conditions are met and all of the prohibitors are removed, then that person will become from Ahlul Bid'ah. قيل لأبي عبد الله أحمد بن حنبل. So it was said that Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah ta'ala, رجل محدث يكتب عنه حديث قال. There is a man that is a muhaddith, that people write hadith from him. This is what he said. He said, من شهد أن العشرة في الجنة فهو مبتدع. He said, whoever says that the 10 people are guaranteed paradise, whoever said that there are 10 people that are guaranteed paradise, then that person is an innovator. Whoever says that 10 people are guaranteed paradise, then that person is an innovator. فَاسْتَعْظَمَ ذَلِكَ Imam Ahmed. When Imam Ahmed heard about this, he was upset. And then he said, قَالَ. Now mind you, this person went against what? Something that's famous and well known in the religion. So Imam Ahmed said, لَعَلَهُ جَاهِلٌ لَا يَدْرِي. Maybe he's ignorant and he just doesn't know. I ask every last one of you, are those excuses given to those people in your city? Huh? La. 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 Huh? He was a muhaddith. So if the excuse was given to a sheikh, فَمَا بَالَ دُونَهُ. What about the student who was in more need of an excuse than a teacher? طيب. قال Imam Ibn Taymiyyah رحمه الله تعالى في بيان من هو مبتدع. So Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah رحمه الله تعالى, he says, مثل هؤلاء إذا لم يجعلوا ما ابتدعوه قولا يفارقون به جماعة المسلمين. As long as that innovator, the one who fell into innovation, he does not make his statement a statement in which he divides the Muslims with it, and he love people based on that statement, and he hate based on that statement, كان من نوع الخطأ, then that will be considered a mistake. والله يغفر للمؤمنين وخطاهم في مثل ذلك. Then that person will be forgiven. It is a mistake, and inshallah ta'ala, Allah will pardon him for that mistake. This is the kalam of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah. This is not my kalam. You can find this in his Majmu' al-Fatawa, Juz al-Thalith, Safha 349. And that's for those who understand Arabic. You can go look it up yourself. وَلِهَذَا وَقَعَ فِي مِثْلِ هَذَا كَثِيرٌ مِنَ السَّلَفَ وَإِمَّتِهِمْ. And so based on this, we find many of the scholars of the past fell into something similar. لَهُمْ مَقَالَاتْ قَالُوهَا بِاجْتِهَادٍ. They have statements that they made based on ijtihad, where they made mistakes. And in those statements, they went against that which is firmly established from the way of Ahlul Sunnah. بِخِلَافِ مَنْ وَالَى مُوَافَقَهُ وَعَادَ مُخَالَفَهُ. This is different as for the one who love those who agree with them, and they hate those who disagree with them. Intabihu. They love those who agree with them, and they hate those who disagree with them. وَفَرَّقَ بَيْنَ جَمَاعَةِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. And they divided between the Muslims. Sounds eerily similar. And they divided between the Muslims. Divided and separated the Muslims. وَكَفَّرَ. Except we don't find people making takfir for whatever reason, I don't know why. They're scared of making takfir, but they have no problem making tabdi'. And as many of the ulama mentioned, takfir and tabdi', they're from the same bab. The same rules apply. طيب. وخالفه دون موافقته في مسائل الآراء والاجتهاد واستحل قتال مخالفهم دون موافقه فهؤلاء من أهل التفرق والاختلافات. Shaykh al-Islam said that these people, they fight against those who disagree with them, and they love those who agree with them. He said these people are أهل التفرق. These are people of different firq and sects, and the people of differing. قال في بيان اشتراط بلوغ الحجة. So the next issue is, and we're almost done. In fact, I think I'm going to have to cut it short. I do? طيب. All right. I'll cut it short. You know what? We're gonna stop with that. There's a lot more to this that I wanted to add, but inshallah, we're almost done, Sheikh. طيب. Right now, I just want to mention some of these. من أذن؟ طيب. So lastly, we're going to end this, inshallah ta'ala. We're just going to mention 8 principles. 8 principles, solid principles that you can use. And there's a lot more to this. I wish I could have finished, but due to the time. Al-Qaida al-Ula. The first principle, Masr al-Talaqi inda a'immat al-Salaf, Kitab, Sunnah wal-Ijma'. The first issue is we follow the way of the Salaf, the scholars of the past, with the Quran, Sunnah, and al-Ijma', the consensus. Al-Qa'idah al-Thaniya. The second principle, كل مخالف للسلف في مصدر التلقي فهو من أهل أهواء وبدعة. Whoever goes against taking from the Quran, taking from the Sunnah, and taking from Ijma', then they fall into the people of innovation. The third principle, لا إجماع منضبط إلا ما كان عليه القرون الثلاثة المفضلة. There is no consensus of the scholars unless it agrees with the first 3 generations. In other words, there's no such thing as an ijma' today. There can't be. There's no ijma today. There's no ijma today. The fourth principle, al-aslu alladhi tubna alayhi al-jama'a huwa tamassuk bima kana alayhi as-sahaba. The fourth principle is the principle of building on or establishing the jama'ah or the congregation wa tamassuk bima kana alayhi as-sahaba. Holding on to that which the companions were upon. The fifth principle, كل مسألة اشتهرت موافقتها للكتاب والسنة والإجماع تعد أصلا من أصول أهل السنة والجماعة. Every issue that has become famous and well known and it agrees with the Quran, the Sunnah, and the consensus is considered a fundamental principle from Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. The sixth principle, مخالفة أصلا من أصول أهل السنة والجماعة بدعة. Going against one of those agreed upon principles, anyone that goes against one of those agreed upon principles from Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah is considered a bid'ah. It is considered a bid'ah. And the last two, al-akhdhu bima ishtaharat mukhalafatuhu lil-kitabi wa sunnah wa ijma' bid'ah. And taking from al-akhdhu bima ishtaharat mukhalafatuhu lil-kitabi wa sunnah wa ijma' bid'ah. And taking from those things that we know clearly go against the Quran, Sunnah, and Ijma', that are famous, and they go against it, then this likewise is a bid'ah. And the last principle here, al-mu'ayyan ka yatakhallafu al-hukm alayhi bil-ibtida'. A specific individual, perhaps we will not call that person an innovator. Why wouldn't we call that person an innovator if he fell in a bid'ah and things that went against Islam, went against the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ? This is due to the fawat al-shart, because the conditions were not met. Without li wujud al-mani', or a prohibitor is present that will prevent you from doing that. And وَإِنْ كَانَ مُقْتَضَى فِيهِ قَائِمًا, even if all of the conditions are present in that person to be labeled that. So lastly, before we finish, many of the ulama, they say before you make tabdi' of a person, you must what? You must balagha hujjah. You must bring the dalil that this person, perhaps they have a misunderstanding, so on and so forth. And if they have a misunderstanding, then they are cleared. At any event, we're going to end with that. Sorry for going so long, but I felt like this was an important issue. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.